I was 16 years old, sitting on my couch after school, waiting to start walking to my after-school job, when I heard helicopters. It sounded like a bit of commotion was going on nearby. I left work early just to be nosy. When I stepped out of my house, I noticed forensic police vehicles a few streets up, but in clear view. The street was closed off. I walked closer to see the street being torn up, concrete everywhere, and police. I thought it was strange that forensic vehicles would be at a construction site. My mind started going wild. I wondered if bodies were being dug up. I worked a street over and entered the building. It was an assisted living home. Many residents were watching TV. I soon found, through the news and co-workers, that they had busted a serial killer. I live in a very tight-knit, small city. Everyone knows everyone. It's not the safest city, but a serial killer? I was stunned. And right next to me? It freaked me out. My best friend lived right next door to this guy, where I frequented. Rewind to a few years back. The city started having an issue with known prostitutes being reported as missing by their friends, families, and boyfriends. It was starting to happen quite often, but there wasn't a trace or clue as to where they could be. It soon became a cold case. One day, the cold case became hot. An anonymous call was made to our local police department stating, "You want to talk to Jocelyn Martell." Police tracked her down for a talk, where she told them a very interesting story about a local man named Jeffrey Mailhot. She visited Mailhot's apartment, where he attempted to strangle her. She managed to stick her thumb in his eye and escape. Another woman ended up coming forward with an extremely similar story. Both women were able to give an address. Police took Mailhot in for questioning. Meanwhile, his apartment was being scoured. His apartment was eerily neat and clean. Police described it as almost compulsive. Once they started looking closer, small spots that looked like dirt in the beginning ended up being blood. Mostly in the bathroom they were finding this. They put a special light over his floors and his mop. Particularly, his mop just fluoresced. Police needed more than this to charge him. They needed a confession. Detective Lee was the man to break Mailhot during interrogation. Mailhot confessed to the murder of 3 women. Mailhot went on to describe how he did it, how he got rid of the bodies, where the bodies were. He said he sawed up the bodies in his tub, dismembered them, and put them in trash bags all around the city in random dumpsters. He stated that he was inspired to do it this way by the show The Sopranos, where in an episode, Tony Soprano dismembers Ralph Cifaretto with a handsaw in a bathtub. He claims to have done this because he believed his victims didn't have any family or friends, and that they wouldn't be missed. The people in the courtroom proved that theory wrong. He gave a seemingly genuine apology at his sentencing, but cellmates have described him as showing no remorse. While talking about the murders, he apparently believes if he apologizes to the victim's family, one day he'll get out. That's just not going to happen. To think this happened a street away from me is insane. My cousin actually knew him, and he bought her a beer at a bar. Even more crazy, my best friend's father was a suspect in these murders, and is actually a character in a book written about this. A lot of our community described him as a normal, nice guy. Well, he could be nice and normal to his cellmates because he pled guilty on 3 counts of murder and 1 count of assault. He's doing 2 lifetime sentences for the murders, plus 10 years for the assault. Fuck that guy.
We pulled up. I was walking on the sidewalk, and he's like, "You want to make some money?" And I was like, "Yeah, you know." We went into the house. We spoke about money for sex. I asked him where he wanted to go, and as soon as I turned my back to him, he put his arm around my neck and started choking me. What I did was I banged my head back on his head, and we both fell backwards. And when we both fell backwards, I stuck my thumb in his eye, and he let me go, and I ran out the door.
Ever in the middle of an average day, eating an average meal, watching average stories on your local news, then just get shocking breaking news? Like when Michael Jackson died. I remember where I was, what I was doing. When coverage of 9/11 started, I was in homeroom in 7th grade. I remember feeling scared and confused. Well, this breaking news flash was something a little different. It was more of a regional thing. I don't believe it was covered nationally. However, House of Horror was what they were referring this home to. Rewind. There was a family of 5 living in a house. The mother, Erica Murray, and her 4 children, and in a basement apartment downstairs lived the children's father, whom supposedly did not reside in the upstairs apartment, nor did he ever visit. This claim is rumored as a lie. I too believe it's a lie. Erica Murray posted on social media often and talked about her children a lot. Mom stuff, music quotes, etc. She appeared to live a completely normal life with normal, healthy children. The horror started leaking out when the 2 oldest children started hanging out with the neighbor friends. The neighbor friends and parents thought it was a bit odd that nobody was ever allowed in their house. They could never visit the Murray house, nor even approach it, or they'd pretty much be told to scram. Neighbors started to notice strange things, like the smell of the house, that it gave off even from a great distance. The kids smelled terrible. They were always hungry, asking for food often. It was really starting to get suspicious. One day, a neighbor was looking around the property for a lost ball or something of the sort. He couldn't help but notice, through a window, there sat a toddler, maybe 2 or 3 years old, covered in feces, sitting on a filthy bed, also covered in urine and feces. The rest of the room wasn't much different than the toddler and the mattress. The sighting was told to a parent, whom immediately informed Child Protective Services. I bet CPS wasn't ready for what they were about to stumble upon. The house was covered in squalor, trash, rotten food, human feces, animal feces. The smell was unbearable, and hazmat suits were required to search this house. After the 4 children were taken into custody, of course, the child that was seen through the window was suspected to have never had any human contact ever. He didn't even know how to be held. He didn't know how to talk. Being isolated for his entire existence caused serious developmental issues, unfortunately. Erica Murray allegedly hid the existence of the 2 younger children. Not even her family was aware of them. Among trash, shit, and more shit, something worse was found. In a backpack, hidden in a closet, was a deceased infant. It was determined it wasn't a miscarriage because of the size and, well, the fact that the infant was dressed in a onesie. As they explored the rest of the house, they found not 1 but 2 more dead infants. They also found the remains of multiple dogs and cats. When the downstairs was explored, it wasn't nearly as bad as the rest of the house, but it was still gross. They were able to take the father in for possession of marijuana, as he had a marijuana plant growing on his table. He cried and claimed he had no idea what was going on upstairs, as police tried their best to hold him responsible legally. Erica Murray is facing 6 different charges currently, including 3 counts of murder in the state of Massachusetts. Since then, the House of Squalor has been demolished. It was deplorable and unfixable. The stigma of the house wouldn't help either. I find it sick that she made it a point to hide everything. Crazy people don't feel the need to cover their tracks the way she did. She obviously did a good job considering how long she hid it for. That, to me, means this woman was pure evil and disgusting. We can all just be glad the 4 children aren't living in those conditions anymore. But rest in peace to the ones that didn't make it.